Hey everyone, thanks for clicking on this video today. This video today is about a personal experience and essentially an act which I did and potentially prevented someone getting sent down for over 10 years. Now, I was a bit hesitant, to be honest, to do this video because I don't like to discuss any personal experiences where it seems like it's a good deed or I did something good for someone, because that makes me uncomfortable. But then a few people mentioned it to me in my own family who said you should do that because, again, for the greater good, it can help someone who's maybe in that situation. And trust me, when you're in that situation, which I'm going to describe now, you need all the help you can get, because you're in a desperate situation, a situation which you have so little control, where your freedoms are taken away and you can't do the basic things. And that's when you truly appreciate life, I think. Because when we take for granted all the liberties we have, we can get up when we want, essentially, to a certain degree. We can take a walk when we want. We can take some fresh air, and all these natural things which we essentially take for granted it only really matters when it's taken away. So, and especially in that type of situation where there's time limits, there's time pressure, and your life is dependent, or what happens to your life is dependent on external parties, it's literally taken out of your control. I mean, that is a very daunting situation to be in. So, got to go back to this, what happened in this instance. So, essentially, there was someone, an acquaintance that we were aware of. Now, we didn't know him personally. When I say person, we didn't, meet him, ring him every now and then. We just didn't have that interaction. But we knew him through somebody else. So whenever we'd pass by or bump into each other, obviously we'd just do, the standard, salams and highs and all the rest of it. But we didn't know him, on a personal level. And essentially what happened was, one day we found out he got arrested. And he got arrested, and this gentleman he's got 5 children. All, I think his youngest was literally a few months old, or was she pregnant? Sorry, no, his wife was pregnant at the time. Sorry, this is going back now. I'm gonna have to re-jog my memory. And sorry, I don't write nothing down. So, his wife was pregnant at the time. So he was due a baby, and he had four other children. So, they were all under 10 or something like that, or in that ballpark figure. So they're a very young family. They'd just bought a house, so obviously quite a big mortgage on there. He just started a business. It's not been long, and this trauma come on the family. They had no family here, and his wife, is pregnant. Husband's now been arrested. I mean, I can't imagine what she was going through. I remember when I used to just see her, she used to just be praying all the time, because she's a very religious person anyway, but she was just praying constantly, that's it, and she had no family around her. So you can imagine being, in that kind of situation is crazy. I can't even imagine it, to be honest with you. It's a very dark time. And eventually he got arrested, and we found out. So we just kept in the loop of what's going on. And from what we understood, I'm not going to name what the alleged crime was. I don't know if you get censored or whatnot if you mention them kind of things, but it was a serious crime. It was a crime which you can probably guess once I discuss it in more detail. But essentially, he was looking at 10 years in prison if found guilty. So, he reached out. Essentially, we reached out to him and said, look, if you need anything, just give us a shout, etc., etc. So, he just wanted us to be there and thereabouts, because he had a business. So, one of who's a partner now, but he's been working with us for 20 years, he knew him a bit better than us. And he obviously then said, look, I'll take over your business just to keep it running. Obviously, we didn't have any idea how long this is going to take. I mean, trials can take years, and at this time he was locked up. He wasn't coming out. He tried for bail originally. I think they refused it, so he was inside for a fair amount of time. Now, what happened is a friend of his approached him. So this is the story we got told, and this is why we decided to help him. So a friend of his approached him, and he said, "Look, I'm thinking of starting this business," and he said, "We're going to start a business. Before I start my own company and go through all that headache, do you mind if I do it through your company?" So this business he wanted to start, his partner, was essentially importation business. So he's importing fruit and vegetables and whatnot from a foreign country. Now, this person who's asking, I'm going to call out the one I'm referring to, we defended our friend, just for clarity, right? So our friend essentially believed he owed this person a big favour, because when he came into the country, it was the friend that's just approached him who got him his first job. So as you can appreciate, and as a sign of gratitude, he had to help him, because ultimately that's how we work. If someone helps you, you can't then, when they need your help or they're asking for assistance, you can't say no. You know, it's very difficult to say no, because ultimately they're the ones who got you set up when you arrived in this country and you didn't know anyone, and so they got you settled in, got you a job, etc. So now it's his turn. He needs some help, and he's asking, because he was already importing stuff, so he had VAT registration numbers, he had import numbers of some kind. So he just wanted to come on board essentially on his own, nothing to do with him apparently, and just get it set up and start. And if it does well, then obviously I'll set my own company up and off I go. So obviously one day he gets a shipment, comes into his store. Next minute he's surrounded by police, raided the place, and you can guess what they found inside the vegetables, right? So obviously, understandably, the police took him in. The business obviously closed down at that point, and they took him away. So we found this out, and we were obviously, we found out he had nothing to do with it. This is the reason why he did it, and ultimately his friend was the one carried this out, and he had no knowledge of it. So we decided to help him. Now, just to give you a bit of experience, I have a legal background, and what I mean by that is I've studied law, I've been to university and whatnot, but I decided not to pursue that for many reasons, and one of the reasons was because I saw the hypocrisy of law, so it put me off law. Don't get me wrong, loved my journey, loved everything I learned about law, and it helps you, of course, in business, in life. It gives you a lot of help in general day-to-day negotiations, contracts. So it's been and I love the law, I love to learn, so it was great. But as a profession, I couldn't see myself doing it, because first of all, I wanted to go into crime because I wanted to help people, but then I was always told crime doesn't pay, civil is where you need to go, but civil for me was boring, so that never entertained me. So while I was doing my dissertations, and you can choose your modules, I chose human rights and whatnot because I was really into human rights. I believe every human should have fair rights and should have rights. But then I saw the hypocrisy of the law, where there was no such thing as the rule of law, there was no such thing as justice, and that's where I understood all this from. And I said, this is not for me. This is just hypocritical. The law is essentially a presentation. You have to present a view, and hopefully that view will be accepted. Whether it's the person's innocent or guilty is irrelevant. It's got nothing to do with it. It's what does the law, in someone's opinion, show. And obviously I did Guantanamo Bay. I did my research on Guantanamo Bay for human rights and whatnot. And that was just total hypocrisy. People not allowed to write a trial, not allowed attorney, picked up from X country, taken to another country. So people from Great Britain taken to Cuba, locked up for years. Rule of law, where was all this that we're getting told that all this exists? I mean, it just went out the window. So for me, the law was a joke, and that's why I didn't pursue it. It's one of the major reasons I did not pursue it. So thankfully I didn't pursue it, because I've seen even more and more how the law is just irrelevant. It's just something there, and you just have to abide by it, and you hopefully not get involved in it. But anyway, back to this story. So one day I went to his trial. His trial started, went to his trial, and he had a barrister and a legal team in place. And I remember I remember sitting there, and here's me now, barely any experience, right in the courtroom, and I'm seeing the prosecution say certain things, and his barrister is not speaking up and just saying yes, yes, yes to everything. And I found this strange, because I thought to myself, in all of this case, have you not found anything which makes you believe that this person here has some points? You know, it just didn't make... He's the worst barrister I've ever seen. I mean, you watch it on TV, right? You see all these barristers and whatnot, and all the rest of it. And this guy was the worst of the worst. So I was shocked. So this is the one day I went in, and once the trial ended, I went into, obviously, to speak to the barrister, and we got into the lift. And I asked him point blank, because I'm very direct. I said, do you think he's got any chance? And he said, what do you think with that evidence? No chance. This is his barrister. I was shocked. You know, I can appreciate him saying, well, it's going to be tough. I don't think he's got X, Y, and Z. He was just like, not interested. And this person here is putting his life, his freedom, his wealth, his whole family's future on this person. And I saw this sick man who calls himself a barrister, unable to defend this person in the way I felt any human being should be defending. He was just not interested. I was shocked. I said, whoa. I got in touch with the friend of ours, and I said, we need to change this guy. So we found out, can we change? And he was like, no, he's good, and he's recommended by, because he knew someone else, and he was recommended by him, and he's fine. And I said, no, we need to change. This guy is a disaster. He's going to send you down. Forget the judge and the CPS. He's sending you down. He's gone. Now, we couldn't change the barrister because the trial had already been so many days. Now, this is where the beauty of the Lord comes in. Simple. Honestly, this is a miracle from the Lord, because if this, what I'm about to tell you now, did not happen, he would have got sent down for 10 years. With no shadow of a doubt. He would have got sent down because there was no defense. There was just no defense. So he would have been sent down and finished. And then if he was going to appeal, God, that would have been years. Thankfully, one of the jurors fell ill. And because the juror fell ill, if I remember correctly, because the jury was uneven, they had to cancel the jury. Bang! This was the opportunity. The judge had to dismiss the case for temporarily and start a new trial. This is where opportunity came in. Right. This is where I said, listen, we changed about this barrister, mate. Throw him in the toilet. Throw him in the bin. Get rid of this vile creature. He's not a barrister, in my opinion. So we got rid of him. And what had happened was I knew of a barrister through again family, a Jewish barrister. I'm a Muslim. So all of you that think Jewish and Muslims don't get on, listen to this carefully, what I'm about to tell you now. I knew of a Jewish barrister, and the way I knew about this Jewish barrister was another friends of ours. They had an altercation many years ago. We're talking 25, 30 years ago. Something like that. They had an altercation. It got out of hand. They had a fight and all the rest of it. Three of them, and there was the defendant. Three of the guys that I knew, and another person that eventually attacked. Although the other person was the one who started the whole shenanigans, because he wasn't paying a fare or something like that, and it got out of hand. They got in a scuffle, and then the other two turned up, and it just got into a bit of a mess, right? But they were getting done for attempted murder. So these three were getting done for attempted murder. Now there's three barristers representing all three different barristers, right? And listen to this story, because this is a story in itself. But essentially, what they had to do is plead obviously guilty or not guilty. And this barrister who's representing one of our other friends, he said plead not guilty. But the other two barristers are saying you must plead guilty. There's no way out of this. Plead guilty, obviously get a lesser sentence. But he was determined, but they could only agree if they all agreed. So for example, if two of them said guilty and one said not guilty, they couldn't agree. It would be classed as not guilty and vice versa. So they all had to be unanimous. So he was hell-bent. So imagine this now. Listen to this carefully, right? Because they're all three are Muslims. And then the other two barristers, I don't know what religion they were, but this guy's a Jewish barrister. And he's telling his client, say not guilty, I will get you off this. he was extremely confident. And, you know, when a barrister's so confident, that's crazy. But then he was Jewish. And people were saying to him, oh, he's Jew. Why are you listening to him? You know, sadly, this does happen, yes. But thankfully for them, he stuck to his guns and he said, you know what, my barrister's saying not guilty, I'm going to do not guilty. So obviously you can believe the other two are really annoyed that now we have to plead not guilty, all three of them. So they went to trial. And guess what happened? They got found not guilty. So all thanks to this barrister. So I knew about this barrister. I clearly knew his capability. I understood. So I contacted him. When I contacted him, he said he's senior. He would be senior now, right? You can just tell straight away. That was many years ago. So contacted him and I said, look, I don't deal with them cases anymore. I think he's actually a QC now, which is like the highest level of barristers, above barristers who eventually become judges. So he's a QC. He said, I don't take these. But he didn't fob us off. He didn't just say, oh, I'll see you later. Excuse me. He gave us a courtesy and said, don't worry, I've got another barrister, very good. I think he was called Oliver. I've got even saved in my phone. I'll pass the case to him, contact him, and he will deal with it. And he's very good. Take my word for it. We didn't think twice. We said, if he's good enough for you, he's good enough for us. Contacted him. Thankfully, he was free on them dates. He said, I'll take the case. This is the beauty of having a fantastic legal team barrister. This man came in. Honestly, his trial started. Forget the trial starting, mate. From day one, he just blasted out a crap load of stuff, which just had the CPS. Like, you know, when you have, if you don't know if you see Tweety Pie back in the day when he used to get dazed and just have them, you know, sign. That's how the CPS was, because he just pulled up loads of stuff which they had done wrong, pulled out incorrect evidence, wrong evidence. So he had pulled all this out straight away from day one. And then as a result of that, he also managed to get him out on bail, my friend out on bail. So he's got him out on bail at this point as well. Incredible, right? Because when you're out on bail, you got to understand, when you're inside trying to defend your case, you have limited time, you have limited visiting hours, you can't get the information you need, you can't support your lawyers as you want. But when you get out, obviously you can do a bit more. At least you can also run your business again, which is literally going down the drain because, you know, there's only so much our other friend could help him out and do whatever he can for him, but he kept it afloat for him, so credit to him there. You know, how many people do that, take time out of their own lives and go and help someone else and forget about their own responsibilities just to help him, keep him afloat. So we did that and got him out on bail, so now he could properly defend his case, hopefully. But anyway, eventually, guys, the case went all the way. And he got up on the stand and he explained to the jury, you know, how he was simply duped by a friend of his who essentially should have had his best interests at heart, but he had actually played it clever, put it all on his name, hoping that if he ever got caught, he will go down and he'll get sent for it. Now, only God knows whether my friend knew it from in his heart, but I don't think he knew. And I think the story tallied up. One, I don't think you'd risk all that for stupid, for whatever gains you can make. I don't think he would have risked all that with the way his life was. But, and on top of that, I just felt, obviously speaking to the other party, he was blaming it fully on him, which just didn't make sense. This is the shocking part. He was blaming it all on him, which just didn't make sense because he was accepting no responsibility for it when it was definitely his idea. We knew that certainty. So, because he was the one bringing it in, his sons were in there, you know, actually doing the whole transactions and the contacts and all the rest of it. So, thankfully, the jury saw through it and believed him and acquitted him. But it could have easily gone the other way. I remember the last day before he had to take the stand. I remember speaking to his barrister. His barrister said it's all down to him how he comes across in the dock. If he doesn't come across well, they will send him down. He said, I've done all I can, but ultimately the case rests on him. I remember sitting down with him the day before he had to give evidence, and I just explained to him, you've got to be very sincere. The truth has to come out from your heart, and it will come out, and they will see it, but you can't. You've got to just pour your heart out. You've got to tell the whole story. And you've got to, don't let the barrister dictate or the cross-examiner dictate, you know, what you should and what you shouldn't say. Forget him. You tell your story, because a lot of time they will stop you or they'll interrupt you, and there's a lot of techniques they'll use to frame you or make you look in a certain way. I said, forget all that. When you ask a question, you blab out what you want to blab out. And eventually that's what he did. You know, it was crazy. But equally, he could have got sent down and his whole life would have been turned around. His whole life would have been destroyed. And that's how, now you might say, well, that's where justice has been seen, right? Not really, no. Because had we not intervened, the same legal system, the same justice, would have sent an innocent man down. So, you know, it's how... The police and whatnot, they were so good to our client. They were really good. But they said, look, the evidence is showing us X, Y, and Z. I mean, even there in their heart of hearts, I think they knew that he was innocent. I think they really did. I mean, they were very kind to him and close to him. Very friendly with him. But, you know, they're like, this is what the evidence is showing, so we're going to go through with it. And obviously for them, it's numbers. When they take it so far, they want a conviction. They're not really interested. Are you innocent and why are you guilty? They just want to. We've taken him to court. We need to get a charge. We need to get a conviction. And they don't care about the innocent or guilty part. So, thankfully, in this case, it worked out, and ultimately, he got off. But yeah, it could have been a whole different story. But the lesson to be taken from here is, if you're in that type of situation, don't just rest on whoever you get in the legal system. Do a bit of research, find out from other people, or, you know, places, or if there's anyone better out there who could represent you better, because that is key. You're putting your life, the future of your life, in their hands. So it's very important that you do that, and you take all precautions and all steps necessary to essentially, hopefully, get you the verdicts that you want. So that's important. Hopefully this will benefit some people. If you've got any comments or any questions, please do leave me a comment. But I hope this video is just a video to show, essentially, like I said, the law does not mean justice. You have to create your own justice, and even then you're at the mercy and liberty of the court system, and the people who are judging you, the jury, and they can get it wrong, and they can have a hidden agenda. They can not like you for any reason. The law, the evidence can be disregarded if it's not taken the right way, etc., which can be to your detriment as well. So again, you know, does it mean, surely the whole point of justice is, let's present everything, no matter how it's obtained, etc., to a certain degree, because ultimately we want to find out, is this person guilty or not guilty? But there's so many technicalities. The system is it's not as clear cut. It's not just straightforward. It's not the fairy tale story of, if you're innocent, you know, show your evidence and it'll be all good. It doesn't work like that. Many innocent people have gone to prison. There's been many miscarriages of justice. They've stayed in prison for decades and then been found not guilty through new evidence, or just the same evidence but a retrial. But not everyone gets opportunities. So there's a lot of people in prison that are innocent, and that's something unfortunate. It's actually quite sickening that that's the case, because for anyone to be put into prison and it's not their fault, I think is one of the worst things that can happen to someone. So yeah. Anyway, thanks for watching. Please do hit the like and subscribe for more experience of my life and more tips on money and business. So yeah, thanks for watching. Cheers.